Okay, in our last session, we went to an external editor to cut these things out. And those of you who know a little bit about Live know that that was not entirely necessary. Here's what we want to talk about in this session: envelopes. What's an envelope? Let's just look at this beat here, and let's solo up and hear this thing. Okay, so clearly there is something going on in the background here, and what it is an envelope. The envelope editor is not even visible, and you get to it by hitting this E. This is my envelope inspector, I guess you could call it. I have transpose, volume, and pan. I also have a number of other elements that are related to this track, a beat repeat. That's because if I shift tab, you can see that there's a beat repeat in bypass on this track. Okay, so, and also an EQ3 that's in right now. Okay, so I have the ability to do an envelope with every single thing. So now you can listen to this and you can make sense of what it is. Okay, and when you hear the whole thing in context, it's pretty cool. Listen. Okay, and it is one of my favorite suck holes within Ableton is to get into this editor. Sometimes the song never gets done down here. Okay, all that said, let us do our little handy dandy zoom up deal. And we look here. I have a pencil. My pencil is here. I have an arrow. An arrow allows me to select things. A pencil, which is also Apple B, Command B, allows me to draw things. Now, this drawing of things is obviously related to this grid, okay? And many times we've looked at the grid, okay? Also realize that this affects your ability to see the deepest resolution, okay? So I always have mine on narrowest and I sort of forget about it. But if you're going down to a narrow 1/32 note triplet, and you see nothing, it's because you're not set on narrow. Okay, so when I go down to a narrow area, then I can get some different things. Command Z also undoes all that. Okay, so when we zero up on this thing, and I go back from my pencil tool, Apple B toggles me from selection arrow to pencil. Selection arrow, I'm just doing Apple B. When I go to the selector tool, I have nodes. See, these little guys are nodes. I can double click and lose them. And it's also the way that it makes me do a fade. So I can also edit this thing in a number of ways. I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to grab a selection and then I'm going to right click, and now I have a different bunch of envelopes. They're all the standard Mac commands. And duplicate would just be to duplicate the envelope. Duplicate time would actually be to duplicate the material, but we're not doing that right here. Okay, so I am just going to Apple D this thing, and now let's listen. And let me get this baby on solo. That's what I hate about this big giant view, is that I can't get my solo button. Here we go. Okay, so this is editing envelopes. And if I wanted to simply get it back to the original state, I just draw a straight line across the top. And then I have my... Okay, a deeper suck hole is the transpose. Let's put my grid back on and do a couple of tuning things here. Okay, you can see now that my transpose is triggering. See that right there? Okay, so same thing applies. I can go back to my selector tool and just double click this node and watch what happens. Okay, now let's listen. Try it all the way down. Delete this one. and so forth and so on. Very creative stuff down here. Delete them to make it smooth. Okay, so then the other one is just quite evident, pan. Here you might do something like a copy-paste deal again, where you get a certain resolution going, and in this case it's just eighth notes, and do something like this. Go back to my selector tool and delete those, just like that. And then shift select Apple D, Apple D, Apple D, Apple D. Now we got 3 envelopes working at once. Here we go. Okay, in the next session, we're going to learn how to unlink these and then maybe even scramble some beats.